Oh, there I am. Here I am. Where are you? This is me. Is it you? Well, I'm getting ready to go to church at the old Salvation Army. Then we're going to go to the old folks' home, and I'm going to wear my funny hat. Let me go get my funny hat. So, everyone, come. Let's see. Hey, good morning. Yes, I'm still alive. I just had a little buzz, and guys, I don't drink, right? So I just had a little, and I got the taste of a buzz, and then my theatrical sense, I expanded, right? So I wanted, to step away from me as Sensei Al Bob and be more like drunken George H. Bush. That's what I was last night. Ooh, hi there. This is drunken George H. Bush. Yep, on the other side. Howdy. But I don't talk this way. W does, but I don't. I talk like this because my father was Prescott Bush, and I grew up in Connecticut in banking families. And you know what my godfather J.P. Morgan said was, if you want to rob a bank, own it. If you want to rob a country, be its central bank. Anyway, so this is Cowboy Bob Billy. Yeah, Uncle Larry, as my folks call me. And it's always interesting when people basically say, you know what your problem is? They're talking about themselves. That person is so selfish. They're talking about themselves. You basically have to look at a person by their deeds, and that's what Jesus Christ did. He lived a life of action, of moving. It was always walking forward, always going forward, right? So when you spend your whole life saying, "Oh, how am I going to do this? I'm going to pay my bills. Oh, how am I blah 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 blah. Oh, I'm just waiting for her to come back." No, not. I'm so concerned about you have nobody. No, it's LeConte. Go look up LeConte. Anyway, this is kind of a short one because I have to get off to church. Do, 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 do. Who's there? I'm not wearing three pairs of glasses. Ghost, good to see you, bud. Ghost, were you on the chat last night? Did you see me with a buzz? See your sensei with a buzz? Unlike my sensei, who could drink gallons of anything and not have it affect him, I did get a little buzz. And once I felt that buzz, because I wasn't drunk, I'm sure you could tell I wasn't drunk, but I did get into character, right? Just every time I put on a hat, I get in character. Yeah, you missed that one. Well, you can go. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can go back and look at last night's. It's right there. It's amusing. Anybody else there? On there's two of you. Anybody else part of last night can fill Ghost in? But again, we are all known by our actions, and so we need to because all our relations are depending on our little chorus here, you know? And we are 215 strong, you know? And let's see. Boo, 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 boo. Hey, Eminem. Yes, peace and love. And has anyone gone and looked at on Canadian TV? Go Google Joni Mitchell, and someone has interviewed her, and she's like, almost pushing 80, and she looks very good, and she's still smoking cigarettes, you know, and the thing I love about Joni Mitchell was that she was always her own person. She didn't fall, why you go look at her boyfriends of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and all those guys have hundreds of millions of dollars. And why? It's because they freaking sold their freaking soul, right? Not Joni. She's got like a few mil. But that's all she needs. You don't need, a gazillion dollars, And she lives out in the middle of nowhere, Canada, She's not in California. California, I'm gonna take me home just like I roam. She liked California. She wrote a few songs about it, and she wasn't even at Woodstock, and she wrote the anthem for it. I mean, that's the kind of girl she was, and is the kind of lady she is to Joni. And like I said, if our paths ever cross, I'm not going to be shy anymore. I'm not going to be tongue-tied. You can go look up my story of me and Joni Mitchell, a couple back on my channel, Dreamy Dreamland. What else? Like I said, 7 minutes. I have to get off to church. This is my go to church hat. You like it? Right? Today is Advent Sunday. It's the beginning of the Christmas holiday. I'll get into that. I kind of look like a Christmas tree, right? There's the Christmas tree right there. And what do I have? I have all of these little symbols of Salvation Army. Because of all of the 600 churches in the Valley of Roanoke, Salvation Army is the only one that has its doors open, that feeds people, right? That, other churches may feed people, but only when the TV camera's there. The mission feeds people, but just a bologna sandwich. But you got to go to church and pray to their God, Baal. And, that's, if you basically take the word Lord and take it back to the Sumerian, it's Baal, right? If you take the word God all the way back to the Sumerian, that's the guy with the hooves and horns. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Our Father. And Hail Mary. It's, just like when you were conceived as a little zygote, you had a male and female co-creating your mother and father to make you. And that is what it's all about on this planet. It's not about paying your bills. It's not about worrying about something you can't fix. What love's co-creation is about doing things, moving forward in a way that you help all our relations, not just mommy and daddy or your kids, that you want to live through them. Most parents live through their children. They screw up their own life so bad that they want to, you have to play the piano and do this and do that and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. One of the blessings I had, my parents didn't care. They were so consumed by whatever the fuck they were doing. As long as they were feeding us, they were okay, So let's see. Anybody commenting about last night? So here it is, Advent Sunday. And what is that? It's like the kickoff, this actually is the kickoff to not just Jesus's birthday, because he wasn't even born in December. Christmas is a rebranding of a Roman pagan holiday. Pretty much all, uh, you know, the Roman Catholic Church is a rebranding of the Roman Empire, right? And all the saints and holidays within the Roman Catholic Church are pagan, and that's why there's so many other Christians. The Methodists, the Presbyterians, the Baptists, and the Baptists have 8 zillion flavors, and the Coptics and all of the above, right? And what really matters. So, let's see. I lived at the Salvation Army for 4 months. Worked in a warehouse, stores, clothes, ate. We didn't totally agree with church, but it was. And what do you think of the Baptist? I lived in a town that had, it was a little town, I don't know, maybe 13,000 people. And it had over 40 Baptist churches, and they all hated each other. And this was a time when, real estate market wasn't that great. Around just when the bubble burst, the tech bubble. So real estate took another dump. And I bought 2 really great buildings in this town, downtown. And the guy who owned them just wanted to get the frack out of town. He was stuck in that town. He was like George Bailey, right? And he was like in his 50s, wanted to get out of there. So I met him at the Hardee's, there was only 2 restaurants in this town, Hardee's and KFC, owned by the same guy, and not this guy. And so he wanted to get out of town, so we started talking. And I said, I'm looking to buy a building. And then he said, really? Oh, wow. I got a building to show you. And he showed me 2 buildings. And one building was like amazing in that it was, it was in chunks. It was like they just kind of stuck this thing together. And one chunk was pre-revolutionary. Another chunk was pre-Civil War. Another chunk was pre-20th century. And it was quite a nice building. And there was the town had this big parking lot in the center, had a stage where they put on events, and they did the farmers market there. So, it was very cool. And across the street was a building that was kind of built in the 20s, had big front glass. I mean, the whole friggin' 3 stories. 2 floors, and each floor, see, the one that was like pre-revolutionary was maybe 2,000 square foot a floor, so 6,000 square feet building, plus a basement that was, you could use it as a basement, but it was also a crawl space. But anyway, because it had no foundation, it was just, built pre-revolution, so they just, anyway. The other building was built in the 20s, so it was structurally pretty amazing, and it was a music store. So it had a mezzanine above that was shaped like a piano. So I built a bar. I was going to make a piano bar restaurant, because there was no restaurant in this town except Hardee's and KFC. So anyway, I bought both those buildings. One's 7,000 square foot, the other's probably about 5,000. And I bought both of those buildings for right downtown on Main Street. It said Main Street. And actually, it was Bridge Street. It was around the corner of Main Street and Bridge Street. And for $35,000. It was like, I had that in the bank, So I basically, let's see. Yummy coffee. So I was there and I made that place. And And all I really did was clean things up. I really did. And then I moved all my stuff in from all over the place. And mostly stuck it on the basement and on the top floor of one of those buildings. Anyway, both ground floors were ready to go to be rented out as businesses, right? And again, the economy was pretty dead. So I put big signs up, for rent, my phone number. And the one that was, you know, um, made of pieces, the front window was like a stage. It had big windows on that whole floor, and something above the street level. Kind of like a. I guess at its time it was one of the first like Macy's. Not that it was Macy's, but it was a department store. It had departments anyway. It had been a lot of things. Anyway, so I basically in that stage made, I had rugs and I had a couch and I had a bed and I put it right in the window. I lived in the window. It was like a performance art piece. And I put up construction paper with a sign saying for rent up so you could see in, but where my bed was and where I had my clothes and where I got changed, all you would see is the top part of me. You wouldn't see the bottom. So it was very, PG. But I was living there, and people would go by because this is, Virginia, 1999. Anyway, so they were like, so I one day this woman, was there, and further back in the main part of the first floor, I had my nice reading. I made a theatrical representation of my Akashic record. I had these bookshelves and all these big leather-bound books. I had my reading table that I wrote on, and I had my nice reading chair, and I put a bright light right over, and so I could keep all the other lights that would light up. Anyway, and so I'm sitting there typing away on my little laptop, and this woman walks in. And now I was thinking of renting this space for anything between 300 and 500 bucks. So this woman walks in and she goes, "Is this for rent?" And I go, yeah, it's for rent. She goes, "Oh," and she's like shivering. "Oh, I've grown up in this town and I've dreamed about having a store here. And I have a little store down on the other side of town, and it's a little dinky space, and I'm doing pretty good for it being a little dinky space. Now this would be amazing. I could do everything I dreamt of. Oh, I want it. Is anyone going to rent?" I said, "No. What do you want to pay for it?" I didn't say, "Oh, that'll be 300 bucks." I said, "What do you want to pay for it?" And she goes, "Well, the little dinky space I'm paying $1,100 for." And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yep. I'll pay you $1,500 a month, and I'll put you a check right here, right now, first, last, and basically $4,500 check right there and then." I said, "No problem." And I had one of these things from Staples that had, a boilerplate contract for real estate, because I had some other stuff. And I just kind of fill in the names, the dates, the times, how much. Here it is, right? So I go, this is, we shook hands. We had the thing. I go, why don't we go? I wanted to, because in that parking lot, there was a bank, neighborhood bank that was like, 100 yards from the back. And this building had a porch right out onto the parking lot, steps up. So as a business, it's right there. It was beautiful. So basically, I went, downstairs, I went with her, and we walked across, and we went into the the bank. And in the bank was her best girlfriend, who was the manager of the bank. And she goes, Ethel, here's my new landlord, and I'm gonna rent my favorites. My dream is come true. And they're both holding hands, jumping up. Oh, that's no. And so Ethel becomes my good friend. And whenever you go into a town, two things you need to do is get a bank account, get three things. Get a bank account, get a post office box, and go by and visit the police department and become their friends. And I told you the story, I think yesterday afternoon, when I went in High Point, North Carolina. First thing I did was meet Sarge. And, after we became buds, everything was hunky dory. So, walk, into the bank. We start a bank account. I put that check in there. I start she gives me, a free checking account, and she goes, you don't need a savings account, but since you have this check right now, we have a, 6% interest, 18-month, like bond or investment thing through that bank, right? 6% for a bank that in 1999, that was like amazing. So, it was a special. They just wanted, to get some capital. You had to have above $5,000, so $4,500. So I put that check in, and I made a check out for $600 from my other bank. And she put the $5,000 in that, and she put the other 100 into my checking account, because I need to start that checking account with at least 100. So it did. And I set it up so this woman could put the money into that checking account. I didn't have to even be there. She would just go over there, and she had, they gave her a whole bunch of printed out deposit slips, and she would just fill in the information and put the check in there. And that lady was first of the month, never even had to, think twice, And the other amazing, she loved it so much. She she took, everything that was from the second floor down, she kind of moved the second floor. She kind of took over as her warehouse, and she did it. We didn't sign that into the lease, but hey, I was ready to rent it for $300. She gave me 15. And because I did that, she thought I was just the greatest. So she took care of everything. She painted everything. She reglazed everything. She put a new heat system in. She put a bathroom. She put a kitchen because she wanted to have it in her place. She wanted to bake things because she was a baker, and she wanted to have tea. So the back part where the patio, where the porch was, spring, summer, fall. She had these beautiful little tables and chairs and tablecloths, and so she would do that. And because there was no other place to eat, she had sandwiches, really good coffee, these amazing croissants and sourdough bread and pastries. And she almost did more just from her little tea house than she did with all the other stuff. But she had all these cards and candles and all that. That was that kind of, and all kinds of stuff. And she would, she was really good at getting lots of something goes out of business, almost like Craigslist, right? And it was amazing because she was poised to be a zillionaire because she had this thing kind of like Craigslist. And so she was somewhat familiar with that business, the computers and commerce. She was one of the first people. But when things really took up, and this other guy who moved into town, and no one had a server, no one, the AOL was, AOL, not so much. And he wanted to put up, he was a computer guy, and he bought the old bank, and he was doing his computer business there, and he had a ton of servers, and he had, a fiber optic line brought from off where the highways straight into his, no one else had that in the whole freaking city or town or county, but he had it straight into his bank for his business. And he was going to do free of charge a basically Facebook platform where everyone in the town would have a place, and every business could have a website, and he would administer it and basically, his idea was like, do average, free for everybody, but do advertising. It's like one of those placemats in a store, right? And so anyway, that guy and me and this woman across the street who was a crazy artist, and she had the frame shop, and this woman from New York, and she and I bonded. She started downtown development for this city, and she and I were grant writers, so we wrote all these grants. That there's a thing called the American City, and they like rebrand your town, and they, fix your sidewalks and put up street lights and do those kind of things that make your little downtown look cute, right? And they get bigger money from the federal government, state government, and so we wrote a grant. And because nobody else in our whole bioregion had done that, bingo, we got it. And not only that, we got other grants, right? We just had to write them, and so we did, right? And so first 3 or 4 years of that town were pretty cool because I was doing a ton of other things all over the place, and that was I just kind of flew in, came out, but everybody knew me because I had hats like this, and I put a that they could actually get a sandwich, a real sandwich from bread this lady baked, and she was, it was like the little center, community center, and this lady was making money. So my little $1,500 was nothing. She thought and that I let her just have the next floor above as her warehouse, and didn't even peep about it. She was like righteous, right? And I had one corner of that attic I kind of had for just piles of my stuff. Well, her grandson, who had he was a carpenter, he's now in the 20s, or he was a carpenter, and he built this really beautiful stuff for her. And then when she wanted to take over, she had him and his friends clean out the next floor up, which was kind of just, no one had touched that since like the Civil War. So it was just full of crap. So she said, oh, I'm going to do this. Well, I wasn't in town for a while, so I drove by just when they were doing it, right? And they had a ton of stuff they were going to throw out, but no, this was like Civil War stuff. I said, no, 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 no. I have this friend in the college. I'm going to call him up. Anyway, so called him up, and he was, oh, this is worth. And I said, okay, so you have a Southern Civil War kind of museum in your college. Oh yes. I said, what happens if I donate all this? What kind of tax break or blah blah blah? And he goes, oh, you would do that? I said, yeah. I mean, I don't have the time or effort or anything to do this. And, the only guy I know who could do this right is you. And you wouldn't want to sell this stuff to collectors. You want to put it in your museum. So why cut the middleman? Just donate it to you. And so he almost started to cry. So what he did was he then, while he's there, he's looking at everything. And he goes, you know what? You're going to do this. You're going to get this kind of tax break. You won't have to pay taxes the next 20 years. I said, oh, that's good. And this state is so gaga for history. There is a program where the state will, if you will agree to let this building be renovated back to its historicalness, you will never have to pay taxes. I said, well, that sounds good to me. Is it going to cost me anything? No, they'll pay for everything. The architectural, the historians, the builders, the contractors, because they use special contractors. I go, okay, sign me up. Let's do it. So I do that, right? And I'm going through it. And, again, I'm not there. I'm all over the place doing all other things. And see, this is how a lot of people go. Oh, you're lazy. You don't do anything. All you are is happy. All you think about is yourself. I mean, not too many people say that. A few, really, just a couple. Just, again, these are folks who represent, what's his name? LeConte. You know what your fault is? Exactly what their fault is. So, anyway, most people, look at my actions and go, wow. So, and why do I do it? Because just the look on this guy's, by me giving him that, he was like so happy. It was like Christmas. He was just, and again, the old Sensei Albab always comes around. This is what Advent is about. Why do I have this funny hat? It's because I'm going to church in about, let's see. Oh, when it hits 30 minutes, 33 minutes and 33 seconds, I will say Ardor. But doing that for that guy, yes, I got a tax break, you know. I could have made a lot of more money. I mean, like, probably God knows how much, right? I'm not a historian of that artifact, but I am of others. And so, but it would have taken tremendous. I mean, I've been around situations that I was there cataloging things, and no, I didn't want to do that. I was doing too many other things. And so by giving it to him, yes, they were going to renovate this building. They were going to, I would never have to pay taxes again. This is what rich people do. But the real reason I did it, because I wasn't making enough money for really to be, where I'd make some real money. I wasn't paying any tax anyway because I wasn't making that much money. But anyway, it was the look on his face. It was the aura of his energetics and what he was going to go do with this stuff. That was really, it was like the pebble in the pond, right? So and last night someone said, oh, it's a tsunami now. Well, it is because all you guys are there. All you guys are involved. You are the pebble in the pond. So that's what Advent is. When you see the happiness, I mean, that's why we give gifts, right? It's not to fulfill that space of guilt. And that's why most people give gifts today, and that's why when I lived in New York and when I was married and when I was the artist mystic, between 1969 and 1988, Christmas and my birthday was every day. And I didn't receive any gifts. I gave gifts to everyone. Like both my wives, whatever they really liked, my second wife loved flowers and other things. And I would do them all the time for her, right? And every week I would have a surprise speciality. Either I make something at home for her, fix something for her, fix her factory for her without, she would constantly tell me what her day was. I mean, that was, honey, I'd get home first and start dinner, or prepare the things she wanted to make because she liked to cook. And she would say, oh, I want to make such and such. So I'd do all the shopping. I'd get all the shopping and this and that and have it all prepared so she could just come in like Donna Reed on a TV show and make dinner and be happy. And that's what Advent's about. It's the kickoff of Christmas/Easter because it's that period. And within the pagan dynamic, that's what it's about, And so that's, here we are. We're almost there. 33 and 8 seconds. So today's Sunday Advent. I'm going off to church. I'll talk to you later. I love you guys. I'll see you tonight, 7:30ish, 8 o'clock. Love to get your feedback of the last couple of shows. Okay, this is your Sensei Al Bob saying how much I love you. And put this vision of your sensei in this funny hat, right? And this is the beginning of Advent, making you all happy. I love you so much. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.